Hey, welcome back to Data Crunch, where we talk about the ABCD, AI, big data, cloud computing, and data science, and a lot more different things as well. Today, we're going to talk about how to break into a tech career. Not specifically just for data science, but a tech career. So a lot of people have been talking about digital transformation, but I think the word digital transformation is very cloudy, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. But what really is digital transformation, Dr. Lau?
I think something that I love to do is that every time when the media come out with some new buzzword, right, my job is to demystify the buzzword for the general public. Usually, digital transformation is a process where we move on from those paper stuff into paperless stuff. So we record our information, our data into a form of databases, and then you turn your existing data points into Excel spreadsheets and digitalize those forms into PDF forms, for example. So I think all this can be considered part of the process or part of the journey to be considered as digital transformation.
So a lot of these areas, right? What are most companies in sense of businesses? What are most sense of in businesses? What are they missing out most on?
If you ask me, right, as a data scientist, of course I will tell you it's data. The thing about this, right, everything that we are doing today, let's say from the food, what would you think of? Food Panda, right?
Food Panda.
When you talk about transportation, you'll be thinking?
Transportation, Grab.
Accommodation?
Airbnb.
Yeah, exactly, right? So all these different, you call it industries or startup companies or whatever you call them, right? What is the only thing that is driving their decisions-making process behind?
Data.
Yeah, it can't be human, right? Because the amount of data is so huge that we cannot rely on human computational power to help them to make decisions. And gone are the days where business owners, even SME owners, right, you can't just rely on something called gut feeling, or you cannot use the word I guess, I think so, because the market is changing so fast, and you need to be able to rely on data and analytics to make decisions to adapt to the changes in the market.
I think this reminds me of marketing. So when it comes to digital marketing, a lot of us, from the days of gut feeling, thinking this will work or not, we now look at data, look at analytics to actually find out what to do next. But in terms of digitalization and transformation, right? So what kind of in-demand skill sets should an individual, whether you are an entrepreneur or an individual, right? What should they learn?
As a data scientist, people will always expect me to give you the standard answers like, learn how to program in R or Python, or learn how to analyze the data using different tools, or you need to have mathematics skills and statistics skills. But personally, I think in the era of digital transformation, on top of having those hard skills or technical skills, the skills that you need, the most important one is actually the business domain knowledge, your ability to ask the right questions in the right field.
So in one of the webinars that we ran a few days ago, one of the major questions that popped up is domain knowledge, right? But how do we get domain knowledge?
Okay, now usually in the past, right, if you want to gain domain knowledge, then you probably have to work in the industry, and usually the seniors will tell you that you need to start from the lowest level and then climb your ladder up, because you need to learn the processes and workflows in each of the part of the life cycle or the loops, so to speak, right? But today we have a lot of tools that can help us to fast track the process. Now, I'm not telling you that there is a shortcut, but given the technologies, think about this. There are three types of ways that you can climb a ladder. You can take a staircase, you can take an escalator, or you can take a lift even, right? So I always believe that learning something, upskilling your skills is one of the fastest ways that you can progress in your career, in an efficient manner.
And I think we are blessed with a lot of resources these days. We have the internet, we have courses over the internet, and there's so much resources online that we can get this to upskill ourselves and learn more and more, right?
Correct. Maybe you feel that that's a bit vague, right? So let me give an example. That's something that's out of the blue. So for example, I'm a data scientist, and you can see that I have a lot of experience in text mining in terms of analyzing unstructured data, and also I have experience in terms of analyzing hard data like sales data, retail data. So today, let's say you give me an example, give me a task that I need to work in fashion analytics industry, right? So one of our speakers in DM Summit will talk about it. So I need to find out what is the best way that I can quickly pick up all the necessary terminologies and the domain knowledge about fashion analytics. So the easiest way will be going to their conference, listening to their speakers to share about their pain points, and to understand the culture about how things are formed. and try to think about why do they do things in the specific ways. And the real values that lies behind is now I can go to kaggle.com and find any data set that's related to a garment, any data set that's related to clothing and styles, and find out those information that I want. Now, even if there isn't any data set that's related to, let's say, Malaysian market, right? I can still go to Instagram and scrape the data using API to find out what are the different types of hashtag that Malaysians like to use when they talk about OOTD, right? And then from there, I can do a lot of analysis on the different style of clothing, the colors, or whether they like shirts, or they like shorts, or they like denims, and all sort of things that I can find out from there. So I think it's a matter of taking your first steps to jump into the industry and start to
learning what's in the industry from those resources and getting creative for where you can get data sources from and stuff to work on.
Yeah, but if you ask me, right, I will have the same question for you, right? As a digital marketer, you must be dealing with there's no clients from digital marketing, right? So you must have clients from different industries. So let's say if any example that you can share with us, if you are jumping into a new industry that you have never done before.
I think for digital marketing, one of the best ways to learn marketing is to actually do it. But how, right? So the question is how. Now, one of the questions is, if you cannot get, let's say, a client to do marketing for a certain client, one of the best ways to do is to go into affiliate marketing. Because as an affiliate marketer, you are a marketer, but you are actually promoting someone else's product. Now, that product or service can be in different types of domains and different types of industries. It could be a fashion industry, it could be a software, it could be a course, it could be anything at all. But when you do it, you're actually learning the domain of that product or service.
So with that said, right, you actually save a lot of time, or I can call it a short circuit process from, let's say, R&D, developing a product, because that product is it's a proven product that somebody else's has already done the research, and they know that what the market's demand is. At least they have a very minimum understandings about what people want.
Yeah, and when you work on these marketing projects that you have not done before, you actually learn the different types of audience sentiments, the different types of market with these different types of domains as well. So I think that's one of the best ways for a marketer to pick up domain knowledge, right? So I want to reverse a little bit, right? So when it comes to digital transformation or to break into a tech career, the subject of programming comes up a lot, right? So do you think that everyone should learn how to program?
Okay, now everyone should learn how to program, but not necessarily everybody needs to become a programmer. So there's a slight difference between these two, right? So gone are the days where people say that, you must learn English because you need to be able to connect with the international market, for example. Now, for the same analogy, today, if you want to be able to manage the machines and communicate with all the different devices in the future. And remember, we always talk about this, right? With 5G that's coming in the very near future, actually it's already on its way to arrive, right? So when we have 5Gs, we have a lot of interconnected devices, not only your watches, your mobile phones, your TVs, and very soon you will be able to write scripts to manipulate, for example, your oven, right? Your washing machines and your fridge, for example. So with all those things that are in place, programming language or your ability to write programs has become a core skill that for you to communicate with those devices. Now you can, exactly, right? So for example, you want to be able to, let's talk about something that everybody can relate. Let's use Instagram as an example, right? I found 5 hashtags that I'm particularly interested, and I want to be able to crawl or to collect information, images about these 5 hashtags every 15 minutes. So how can I do that? The only way that I can do that is to write a program using a very simple script that is able to help me to do that. Right? So same thing, if you want to be able to configure your washing machine to do some tasks for you, you want to configure your CCTVs to do some feedback or alerts for you, you can use similar technologies or similar techniques to do that.
Right, you're talking about the possibility of building your own programs to connect with all your different appliances and things at home. Right. Okay, so that's programming, right? But in terms of programming, those kind of things you mentioned to program your CCTV to talk to you and all that. What is a recommended language or recommended pathway or starting point for people.
Yeah. Now, people would think that I will once again recommend you to learn things like Python lah or R to start with. Actually, it doesn't really matter what sort of programming language that you learn at the very beginning, because what you really need to do is to understand how a human should communicate with a computer. So you need to understand the concepts of variables. You need to understand the concept of data structures. How do you store data? How do you store different objects? Object-oriented programming. And of course, the logics using loops and if-else statements, for example. Now, if these things are too far-fetched or too out of reach for you, right? You just have to remember that in the future, what is really important is mobile and web applications, right? Because we are seeing less and less people using desktop for doing their work, except we are typing or using spreadsheets. But a lot of them. A lot of the tasks are slowly replaced by mobile applications. For example, you're not going to use a laptop to take a photo, right?
Yeah,
you are going to use a laptop to edit a photo. But if you want to take a photo, upload it, caption it, most of the time you'll be using mobile applications. And a lot of the business application actually happening in real time. For example, you're booking a cab, you're checking your Airbnb accommodations, you're trying to call somebody. So all these systems are actually built on top of web application. So if I were to recommend somebody to learn a programming language, learn something that has high value in web. So that could be JavaScript, that could be PHP, or of course you can learn something like Python as well.
All right, so you're recommending people to learn programming language that for devices and for platforms that most people are in. Their attention is inside those platforms.
Yeah.
In fact, some regions like Indonesia,
Yeah.
some people who are born there are not born. Their first device that they use to connect to the internet is not a desktop, but it's a mobile phone.
Correct.
So out of that, the most important two things would be the web and also mobile.
If you go to any of the restaurants in Malaysia, right, it doesn't matter, fast food restaurants or any of the restaurants, you can see that a lot of babies, they're not even using mobile phones anymore. They start off with iPads. Yeah. So that's the first ever, I'm not saying first ever mobile device, that's the first ever device they get to learn. So they are very well versed in touching, they're very well versed in pinching, they're very well versed with different type of gestures and on a mobile device.
All right, so we come back with more on how to break into a tech career after the break.
Is data the new oil, or you think that AI is new electricity? Every single industry, from food, accommodation, transportation, they're undergoing massive changes because of data. Right? Analyzing data can help companies to gain information that they do not have access to in the past. And companies have been using data to help them to make better decisions and to grow the company. Now, the question is, for you, how do you begin to learn data science and enter the career? Now, do you need to learn mathematics first, or do you need to learn how to code, or all you need is just business and domain knowledge? In Data Science 360, you will learn a 5-step framework that guide you how to build a data science project from end to end. And not only that, you'll learn how to collect data, how to analyze data, such as structured data, unstructured data, building machine learning models, create AI applications, and ultimately present your results and findings to key stakeholders. And this is Dr. Lau, Chief Data Scientist. I'll be your trainer in this program, and whether your goal is to become a data scientist or enter a data science field, this program is for you. Join us in the class, start learning data science today and prepare yourself for a career of tomorrow. I'll see you in there. Alright, welcome back. Now, Ruben, I have talked a lot on tech, I have talked a lot on data, about programming, right? But something that I would like to find out from you is that those things that I mentioned are really just hard tech, right? Hard technologies and hard skills, basically. But what if somebody that's our audience who wants to enter a tech career, but they are not really into programming or analyzing numbers? Is there any other career path or any other occupations that they can opt for and enter a tech career?
So I think that's an interesting question. So I think that There are many opportunities for the tech industry as well. So not necessarily everyone who want to enter the tech would want to do programming or the technical hard stuff, right? And that's why there's a rise of a lot of different types of roles. For example, like recently with one of our instructors, Sina, he talks about AI product management.
Okay.
So it's product management, but with the layer of AI. So an AI product manager knows the technical parts, but he does not necessarily does the coding. He managed the project. He managed the product.
So that actually reminds me of something like the people call it the slash path, right?
Yeah.
The slash career path, or I used to call it the T-shaped career path.
T-shaped
I think Sina put it in a more interesting way. He called it a comb. Yeah, somebody with a broad understanding of a particular layer, and then he's able to specialize
in the field.
in the field skills. Now, in your case, right, digital marketing, have you seen anything that is similar to this? And because I think from our audience as well, right, a lot of the students that we have taught is that the younger generation, they might be worried about, is this the right career path that they should begin with? Because right now everything seems like flourishing is booming, but is there an end to the tech career, or how should they pick the right career to enter?
So speaking about the marketing industry, you always see two sides of the spectrum, right? So one is the tech people, the tech marketers, right? So they are very good at the algorithms, the targeting, the technical details of marketing, right? And then we have the other side of the spectrum, which are people who are good at marketing, but they do not necessarily have the skills for the tech part, programming part, the pixelation part, and all that. But we find that normally for marketers in this industry, right now the best point to be is in the middle. So someone who knows the programming part, technical part, and can mix his knowledge from the marketing portion as well. So that makes a very all-rounded marketer who understands the landscape that we have today, the tech landscape today.
Okay. I think from my point of view is that we should always look at things from the point of view, we shouldn't, but people always look at things from the ROI, meaning that what are the return of investment. So for example, in our certification courses, they always ask, is this question going to be come out for an exam and stuff? But you know that in real life it doesn't work that way, right? Yeah. So what are your recommendations in real life if somebody wants to learn how to
So I think a lot of people today are looking for shortcuts, right?
Yes.
We see that a lot, but we try to encourage them not to do it that way. So a lot of people come to like certification programs and say, what is the minimum required stuff to get a certificate? Because that's all I want to be able to get a job or get a career. But actually, when it comes to work, it's more than that, right? When it comes to work, the things that you learn is beyond that certificate, that piece of paper.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you have to think about, put inside. So I think it's more than just a shortcut. I think people have to learn broadly, right? So if you're a marketer, for example, you don't want to actually stick and ground yourself to just marketing. You want to actually put a leg out there to learn a bit about programming as well, to understand how programming works, and to come up with more branches of knowledge. So back to the comb again, I guess.
Okay, all right. We have discussed about basically 3 different types of career options that you can have if you want to enter a tech career. So you can either look at data science career path, but not necessarily you want to become a data scientist, but you can become a data analyst, data engineers, and also a machine learning engineer, for example. On the other hand, you should also pick up some skills that's related to programming, and ideally to make sure that you are future proof, you should learn something that is more web related, like JavaScript, Python, or even some other programming languages, as long as they are more robust and more related to web, like for example PHP. Now, on the other hand, if you are not so tech savvy, then you can look into different types of soft skills, for example, product management, but in the context of technology such as using AI, and of course, digital marketing, which I think that is always a demand for digital marketers in the long run, right? Now, before we end the video, any other advice from Ruben?
Advice from me? Well, I think if you were to ask an advice from me, don't be clouded with just one kind of subject to learn. I think that the person today or individual today should learn a few subjects, because let's face it, right? The shelf life of our education is very short, and we constantly find ourselves needing to learn new skills every 4 to 5 years in today's tech industry and the industry itself.
Yeah. Okay, all right. If you have any questions related to tech, related to career, feel free to leave it in the comment sections. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels and click the little bell beside it to receive the latest updates. All right, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.